What is up, everyone? Welcome to HiFi Turtle, the #1 reptile adjacent hi-fi page on the internet, bringing the audiophile out of their shell. Today I have a very exciting piece. This is the Boulder 861 amplifier. This is the entry-level power amplifier from Boulder. It is the smallest power amplifier that Boulder offers, and it's also the cheapest one that Boulder offers, coming in at $9,250 for this baby right here. This is a small, compact amplifier compared to what you're typically expecting from Boulder. It is Class AB, so not a Class A beast like some of the more expensive offerings from them. It is still hand-built in Colorado from the team, all CNC'd, all the great detail and fine, beautiful finishing that you'd expect on a Boulder piece, but without that hefty cost. But while it carries all that DNA from Boulder, it doesn't carry the hefty weight that you'd associate with a typical Boulder amplifier. No, the 861 comes in at only 22 pounds. It's probably the only Boulder amplifier, unless you're like the world's strongest man, that you can actually comfortably hold in a single hand. Realistically, we could actually put one of those larger amplifiers on this particular desk. This is today's sponsor, Flexispot. Flexispot is a premium builder of sit-to-stand desks, and they sent me their E6 sit-to-stand desk. This is the 78-inch wide version, although if you buy any of the different lengths, the mechanisms are the same for the sit-to-stand. You have 4 customizable positions that you can set for memory, and then you can of course manually adjust that as needed, with a maximum extended height of 50 inches, which is what I'm using here to show this off to all you out there. It can accommodate literally any height. The premium bamboo top is super aesthetically pleasing and is definitely a good combination for a pristine high-end audio system, with the bamboo being able to support up to 355 pounds, and the standing desk will actually lift up with 355 pounds on it. I sat on the edge of this desk and it did not topple over. I stood on this desk, walked around on it, and it felt super sturdy. The top itself is warranted for 15 years, which if that doesn't tell you this thing is built for the long run, I don't know what is. I'm so glad that Flexispot sent me this desk, because previously I had a very cheap IKEA desk and the thing was falling apart. It was shaky. It honestly did fall apart at one point, and I used construction adhesive to put it back together, but it was just never the same. It was always rickety, and the Flexispot is just super premium, just super solid, feels great, looks great, functions great. The sit-to-stand feature is amazing. If you have never ever experienced a sit-to-stand desk, I highly recommend it, because it is just an awesome feature to go from sitting to standing, and with a very smooth and quiet operation that the Flexispot offers, it definitely feels like a premium product. It was easy to put together. It took me about 30 minutes to do so. I did it all by myself. I did not have any other help, even though Flexispot encourages you to have a friend help you put this together. I was able to accomplish it by myself, and it's just an awesome desk. So thank you again to Flexispot. If you're interested in this desk, make sure that you check out the link in the description, as well as the link in the comments that will be pinned. It will take you to the product page where you can actually buy this again. Thank you, Flexispot. So let's get back to the Boulder Amplifiers 861. Now, with the smaller size, you are not going to get the massive power distribution that the 1000, 2000, and 3000 series can deliver. You're going to get Class AB 50 watts into 8 ohms, 90 watts into 4, but with peaks available to 75 watts at 8 ohms, 110 at 4, and then 200 at 2. So Boulder is saying that this amplifier is capable of driving loads that do dip down into the 2 ohm impedance. I don't think they're recommending that you use it with extremely low impedance speakers that would be rated for anything less than 4 ohms. The 861 is designed for the companionship of the 812, which is a preamplifier DAC and headphone amp, which I did review at some point, and I really liked that piece. I wish I had it for this, but I just have the 861. I think that's a killer combo, and I think that even adds more so into the idea that this is a desktop ready combination for near field listening. I love the design language that Boulder uses here. It's very classic Boulder. It is an all CNC'd aluminum chassis. There is no vinyl text here. All the indications for your connections and the other various things on this amplifier are milled into that aluminum casework. The heat sinks on the side are just like what you'd find on the 866, and they are unique and beautiful. Very much so, just again, that Boulder design language. Flipping to the back, you will have to conform to the will of Boulder in order to use this amplifier, which basically just means that there are no single-ended inputs. There are only balanced inputs, and then for the speaker binding post, you're going to be forced to use spades. There are no holes for banana plugs. That being said, no attention to detail is spared here. The classic 6mm binding posts that Boulder uses and that they make themselves are super premium feeling. I love that the twisting bit lines up perfectly on each side. It reminds me of the design of like the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak and how the bolts on the front line up perfectly to that face. So again, this is just exuding design confidence and design language that is beautiful and wonderfully orchestrated by Boulder, but still functional, as in these binding posts are easily the best binding posts I have ever experienced on any power amplifier or any speaker. Anything that uses a spade connection, this is the thing to beat. This is what you should be copying. But again, Boulder has taken this and designed it to its peak form. The amplifier, of course, is super simple to use. Being a power amplifier, there's just one button, the power button in the front that will blink white and red when it's warming up, and then solid white once it's ready to use. Now you do have the option for the 12-volt trigger, as well as an Ethernet port that allows you to integrate smart home operation and other kind of smart integrations in your home. I didn't do any of that. There's not like the ability to stream off this thing. It is just a power amplifier, but there is a web interface to integrate that into your home automation if you have that or are interested in that. For pairings with the 861, I used the Stark Sound Beta 7, which is a $750 pair of speakers, which you would not expect a $9,250 amplifier to be connected to, but I did, and I actually really like that. I'll talk about more of that in a second. And then I used the Dyne Audio Confidence 50, which may be a more apropos pairing for this amplifier. I think that Boulder is very smart in the sound of this amplifier, that it would pair extremely well with any of your more high-end offerings from your more conventional brands out there. I'm talking about Bowers & Wilkins, Focal, and even Wilson's more entry-level offerings I think would pair extremely well with the 861. And even some of the more recent generations of Sonus Faber. In fact, I did get to hear this amplifier at one point on the Sonus Faber Amati G5. And while you may think this amplifier may not be good enough for that, I would say you're wrong, because it sounded really good on that Amati. For comparisons, I used the SPL M1000 power amplifier, and then I had the Benchmark LA4 for the preamplifier. DAC pairings were the Electro Compagnie ECM1 Mark II, as well as the Esoteric K07X SACD player and DAC. And when I learned that the Boulder 861 only took spades, I was super happy that I asked Kimber Cable for a loom of their 8TC speaker cable in spades, so that spade requirement was no problem. I was already conformed to that will of Boulder. All right, so let's get into the sound of the 861. This amplifier has a very bassy profile. It definitely feels like there is a little bit of a tilt up, or maybe a tilt down, if you will, into the bass region. There is more bass presence that I get on this amplifier than any of my other amplifiers that I compared this to. It almost feels like there is an EQ, but I would strain away from saying that, of course, because there is no EQ. It is a power amplifier, but it does present itself in a way that I definitely feel like the bass can come off as elevated. I would not say that it comes out as bloated or anything like that. The quality of the bass is still absolutely pristine, but there is an increased quantity of bass. So you have to ask yourself, is that what you're seeking from an amplifier? Do you need more bass in your speakers? Because if you are pressurizing your room, like I am in the case of using the Dynaudio Confidence 50, I would say that I honestly didn't really love that pairing just because the bass emphasis from the 861 kind of overwhelmed my room, and I preferred the more neutral sound of the M1000. However, with the Stark Sound Beta 7 being just a bookshelf, the additional bass bump definitely helped out in the sound presentation, definitely helped that bookshelf sound more full, and I think really elevated that bookshelf. It scaled fantastic with the 861. I definitely would be like, if you blindfolded me, I would have to think that I was listening to a pair of speakers that was many thousands of dollars, maybe not in the tens of thousands of dollars, but maybe in the $3,000 to $5,000 range. But the Stark Beta 7 is starkly under $1,000, but the 861 makes it scale so incredibly well. Again, when talking about the bass, I shied away from saying that it's an EQ because I think there's some negative connotations that come with that, and it may feel like that the bass being elevated takes away from other portions of this musical presentation. I definitely don't think that is the case with the mid-range clarity of the 861 when paired with either the Confidence 50 or the Stark Beta 7. Absolutely sublime, fluid, beautiful, crisp, clean, ultimate clarity. In some regards, I would say that it's even better than the M1000 monoblocks, and those are over 120 pounds, more expensive, and monoblocks. So the 861 is able to convey a more beautiful mid-range, a clearer mid-range, and just extremely smooth, buttery, but still extremely clear and refined. So there's a lot of magic that's going in here. And again, if you paired this up with like a Wilson Sabrina X, I think you'd be floored because Wilson mid-range is already so good. I just wish sometimes with Wilson that they did have a bit more bass. And with 861, you get a little bit more bass, but you still get some of the most fluid and clear mid-range that I've ever heard. So I think that would be a home run. I wish I had the Sabrina X, but I don't. But the 861, wow. It can scale speakers to higher heights, and it is just a really phenomenal amplifier. Now, in the sense of treble, I don't think that the Boulder 861 is a tilting down amplifier where the treble feels like it's rolled off in any sense. But given that that bass boost at the front end does exist, I think that it paired extremely well with the Stark Beta 7, which I do think is a slightly bright speaker, kind of eliminating the idea that it is bright because the bass has now been elevated. So maybe I'm able to listen to it with a little bit lower volume and still get the full spectrum of sound that I'm looking for and enough quantity of bass to not want me to turn the volume up louder. That being said, the sound staging is still super wide, super deep, really nice and clear, has a great panning image. I don't think as much as the M1000 and as expansive, wide, and kind of room defying in the ways that those monoblocks are, but the 861 is definitely no slouch and definitely does not feel as closed or narrow as some other amplifiers that I have experienced in the past. It definitely does give you a good idea of the depth and expansiveness of music. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with the 861. I think this is a very smart piece from Boulder. It's priced right, it looks right, it functions right. It pairs really well with a lot of the speakers in that like $5,000 to $15,000 range that I think realistically people who are interested in this amplifier would be looking at or already own. So I think this is a very smart decision from Boulder to have this, and integrating it in with the 812 is another smart decision because that is just a great piece. And if you have these two together, you don't need anything else. And if you want to get into headphones or you already have headphones and you don't want to give up the functionality of your headphone setup with your speaker setup, you can have it all with that combination. So again, I think this is a very smartly placed and developed product by Boulder, and it gives you that taste, that flavor of Boulder, all the design language that they utilize, and it makes you realize why this feels and is the premium product and gets the recognition and respect that they do in that ultra high-end space. All right, I think that's gonna do it for me. If you like this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up, subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Check the links below in the description for other ways to help support the channel. I really appreciate Boulder for sending me this amplifier for the review, and make sure you check out the Flexispot link in the comments and check out their E6 standing desk. It's awesome, highly recommend it. Thank you for watching again, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.